Hello. As said in the introduction, my name is Chris. I am involved throughout a couple of ministries here in the Wichita area. I do a lot of curriculum planning, teaching. I also play on a couple of worship teams. And yes, I do work here and am a student here at Friends University. I work in the IT department, or as most people know us as, the people who can't get the Wi-Fi to work. Now, I grew up here in the Wichita area, and I attended the Mays School District. And unlike most people that attend the Mays School District, I was one of the very few that actually lived in Mays. Most people live in Wichita. And when I was living in Mays, I attended this really small church, really small Baptist church. And it was great. And in that church, we sang hymns every Sunday. It was all played to just one piano. And the median age of this church was pretty high. So if that tells you anything, it means that the potlucks were fantastic. Potluck Sunday was the best. Delicious food everywhere. And since I grew up in this church and we sang hymns every Sunday, I still occasionally get one stuck in my head. Like, mostly it's Power in the Blood, right? You guys know that song? Yeah. There is power, wonder-working power in the blood. And then there's always the echo guy, right? On the other side of the congregation. So, in the blood of the Lamb, I always wanted to be echo guy, but I just never had the confidence. And it's always some guy on the other side of the congregation, so I don't want to steal his thunder, you know what I mean? So midway through high school, my family moved churches, and we started attending an Assemblies of God church. That's right, the Pentecostals. And let me tell you, I'm not entirely sure why I stayed after the first Sunday there. It was insane. It was like entering a different world. There was like 7 instruments on stage. We didn't really sing a hymn. There's people yelling. There's people throwing their hands up in the air. There's people praying out loud. It was an insane place. There was this lady in the congregation that she wasn't in the band, but she brought her own instrument. And that really threw me. She brought a tambourine. It was insane. And for some reason, every song was written by this band named Hillsong. And when I was there, they had this really big song at the time called Mighty to Save, right? Savior, he can move the mountains, right? That song gets going. Hands start slowly raising up. Tambourine lady gets her tambourine going, right? Oh, it was a weird place. And yeah, I must admit, I'm one of these people now. I'm now the person that is praying out loud, right? And it gets even better. Like, I've played a tambourine. I have my own tambourine. And not just one. I've played 2 in the same service. Now, I am on the worship team, so it is a little different. Let me get to my point here. I moved from a familiar place, my small Baptist church, to a very unfamiliar place at this new church that I was attending. And my faith helped me with that transition. And we go through these transitions all the time. Whether you're coming from a familiar place, high school, into an unfamiliar place at college, or if you're moving from a familiar place in college to an unfamiliar place in the workforce. Our faith can help us with this transition from the familiar to the unfamiliar. And I've seen that multiple times just in my life this year. We need faith to help us with that transition. Now, while I was attending this church, is actually where I met a lot of my really good friends. And I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm kind of a cool guy. So I have a lot of friends, like tons. And like we're all in a group chat together, which I'm sure most people have, and like more than one service, like 3 services, we're in a group chat. It makes no sense. And these are the people that I talk to every week. And I have so many, I like to categorize them. Do you guys categorize your friends? Like, I have my friends, right? More of like kind of acquaintances, but friends. And then I have my wedding party friends. Friends who'd be in my wedding party, right? And then I have my best man friend, right? You got to keep them categorized so you know where they all stand. And C.S. Lewis, in his book, The Four Loves, fantastic book, has a great quote on friendship. And it goes like this. The opinion of this little circle while I am in it outweighs that of 1,000 outsiders. As friendship strengthens, it will do this even when my friends are far away. For we all wish to be judged by our peers, by the men after our own heart. For only they really know our mind, and only they judge it by the standards we fully acknowledge. Theirs is the praise we covet and the blame we really dread. And this is so true. Like, my friends are the people who know me the best, right? They are after my own heart. If they're calling me out for doing something wrong, I'm more likely to listen to them than I am my neighbor. Because these are the people that know me the best. And not only does friendship bring this great interaction between people, it also brings about community. And community is very big and important because community allows us to experience and see God in a way that we not be able to see on our own. Community brings out different aspects of God that we don't experience in our own personal lives. And there's great community options here, just in the Wichita area, in here at Friends University. The Hive, great community experience from what it sounds like when you were describing it there. And there's also the classes, right, like Kettler's. There's chapel on Thursdays. There's Bible studies. Community is very big, very important. To go back to C.S. Lewis in his book, The Four Loves, he's talking about his triangle of friends between him, Charles Williams, and Tolkien, who was Ronald in this quote. Now that Charles is dead, I shall never see Ronald's reaction to a specifically Caroline joke. Far from having more of Ronald, having him to myself, now that Charles is away, I have less of Ronald. In this, friendship exhibits a glorious nearness by resemblance. To heaven itself, where the very multitude of blessed, which no man can number, increases the fruition which each has of God. For every soul seeing him in her own way, doubtless communicates that unique vision to all the rest. That, says the old author, is why the seraphim and Isaiah's visions are crying, holy, 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 to one another. The more we thus share the heavenly bread between us, the more we shall have. See, Charles, when he passed away, left this hole. Lewis wasn't able to see a specific side of Tolkien now that Charles was away. Charles brought out this different side of Tolkien that Lewis could not do by himself. And this is the same with our relationship with God. Our friends have different walks than ours. They see God in a different view than from what we see. We need community. We need it. Well, let's look at our future. Well, James 4:14 puts it that we don't know what our future holds. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a small time and then vanishes. Right? We don't know what the next minute will bring. We don't know what the next hour will bring. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will happen next week. Well, what do we know? Well, we know the past, and we know the here and now. Right? Standing here in the presence, right, the here and now, allows us to look back on the past and see the path that God has taken us on. Right? I can personally look back on my past and see my best friend in high school getting me to actually start attending church. I can look back on my past and see myself failing out of Kansas State University. I can look back on my past and see myself moving back to Wichita, working at a local computer repair shop, and taking classes at Butler. I can look back on my past and see myself getting hired here at Friends University. I can look back on my past and just this year, myself turning into a book person, of all things. Books. I've read more books this year than I did all through high school. And not like your normal book, like theology books, right? I'm reading one of Christian Kettler's books now, who's a professor here, called the breadth and depth of the atonement. Yeah, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? I love it, though. It's great. But standing here in the present allows me to look back on the past and see the path that God has taken me on, and that gives me hope for the future. Well, what does our future hold? What calling do I have? Am I to stay here at Friends and be the senior desktop support technician the rest of my life? Am I to go into full-time ministry? Am I to be a roadie for a band, which is low-key one of my dream jobs? Am I to be a chef? I don't know. I have no clue what my calling is. Well, Paul, in his letter to the church of Corinth in 1 Corinthians 7, 20 through 24, states that we need to grow our relationship with God. Right? We need to grow a relationship with him. I can do that, right? I can study his word. I can spend time in his presence. I can serve his people. That's something I can pull off. Matthew Henry, in his great commentary of these verses, puts it like this: our comfort and happiness depend on what we are to Christ, not what we are to the world. It's perfect. And some of you may be thinking, well, Chris, I already know what my calling is. I already know what I'm supposed to be doing. That is fantastic. That is great. And I must admit, I'm a little jealous. Right? I don't know what my calling is. Glad you do. Again, back to Paul to the church in Colossae in Colossians 3:23 through 24. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive an inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Right? We're to work for the Lord. That's what it says. And it's easy to sit there and think, oh, well, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a missionary. It doesn't matter. We're supposed to work for the Lord. That's what we're called to do. Right? I do my job for the Lord. Right? I don't work for my boss. I work for the Lord. And this doesn't go for employees. It goes for employers as well. We are all called to work for the Lord. Well, we need to take our faith, this faith that will help us move from the familiar to the unfamiliar. We need our council of friends to call us out and tell us when we're doing something wrong. We need to stay plugged into community so that way we can see God from different viewpoints that we could not see on our own. We need to take our hope for the future. We need to take all of those, put them together, and that will help us in our preparing and fulfilling our calling. Faith, friends, future. What is your call? Thank you.